Hey guys, Walls here. Happy Monday. Hope you are enjoying your Monday. If you're here in school, we'll be going over all this in class. If you are at home, hope you guys are looking out the window every now and again, enjoying the snowfall if it's snowing where you are. So the purpose of this video is to go over mood and tone. We've been talking about that last week and this week. And this is just a little notes handout that I'm giving out in class this week, and you guys will be using at home if you need it. So read over this and just kind of make sure you understand the big ideas here. Now, what I want to point towards here is in this first paragraph, and I want to make sure we differentiate the definition of mood and tone. So, a tone is given by the author's word choice. Now, when you think about a short story like Lamb to the Slaughter, it's a violent story. I mean, it's about murder, but there's not a violent tone per se. The tone is more clinical or forensic. I mean, the focus of the story is not on the violent act that Mary commits, but rather on the way she dupes the police and gets away with murder. So, but then you get to the end and you see Mary giggling at the end. That's a little bit of a different tone. That's maybe more of a kind of a creepy vibe that we get. Maybe a sinister. The words that we can use to describe tone. Mood is the feeling you get when you are reading something. So tone is the word choice of the author and the author's intent. Authors use words to create specific tones. Mood is created in the reader. And in the notes or the material I've assigned this attachment to, or attached this notes to words, um, I bring up the idea of scary movies. When you think about it, some of the best scary movies, the ones that I enjoy the most, they've started to rely less on stuff you can see happening and more on stuff you can't see. So you'll have the setting of the story, you'll have the music playing, you'll have the interactions of the characters. All of those things establish the tone, and then the mood is what you feel while you watch the scary movie. So there you go. Now look down here. I want to point out these examples that they give. So this is the kind of an interaction between two characters, kind of a brief story here, and they talk about how the tone of the story is tense. And this is what I mean about word choice. So you have words like snap, shouted, jerk, fury. These words create a sense of tension. They create a tone that is tense. And if you look at these words, snapped, shouted, jerk, fury, they're very intense words. They've got sharp consonant sounds in them, and the meaning of the words, the connotation of the words, lend themselves to a tense, suspenseful tone. It's not a positive thing. You get kind of anxious if you read words like that. Now, the tone is related to the mood, and I just want you to think about as we go into this week and next week how kind of crazy it is that writers can take words that are just physical markings on paper, but as you read those words, as your brain translates the written language into images in your head and feelings in your heart, how crazy it is that we can write stuff down on a piece of paper and make people feel things. I think it's pretty cool if you stop to think about it. So let's go over the questions here. You've got a part of a poem, Dream Within a Dream. In visions of the dark night, I have dreamed of joy departed, but a waking dream of life and light had left me broken hearted. Ah, what is not a dream by day to him whose eyes are cast on things around him with a ray turned back upon the past. So the two questions here deal with tone and then how you know what the tone is. So question number one, do these real quick and then pause the video. Okay, so you should have answered the questions to yourself. Now let's see if you got them right. So what is the tone of the poem? Got four options here: lighthearted, silly, angry, and depressing. Now, lighthearted and silly kind of go together, and angry and depressing kind of go together. But we want to make sure that when we are describing tone, we are as specific as possible. So if you look at lighthearted and silly, there's definitely not lighthearted. I mean, you see brokenhearted here. There's nothing silly about this. Now, look at angry. Now, one can imagine, you say, so what is not a dream by day to him whose eyes are cast on things around him with a ray turned back upon the past. So this idea that this guy, that the speaker in the poem is constantly thinking about the past, of a joy departed. He once was experiencing a waking dream of life and light, but he's brokenhearted now. He doesn't have that anymore. One could imagine that a person who has experienced joy, who had joy but now doesn't, would be angry. But I think that that's reading more than the author intended here. So when you read poems and when you read stories and we're talking about tone, you don't want to think about how someone might feel. You want to make sure that you're paying close attention to the actual word choice of the author. And in that case, we get depressing. Uh, good start for a Monday morning where it's snowing and all that kind of stuff. All right, so which of these lines reveals the tone of the poem? And this is key. When we do exercises like this, we always want to ground our thoughts and ideas in the text that we're reading. We can't say, "Well, I think of the tone of this thing is um, lighthearted and happy-go-lucky." You can't just say that without tying it to a specific line. So if we're going to say that the tone of this poem is depressing, which of these lines right here is going to give us that tone the most, the best line? But a waking dream of life and light. All right, so the word choice in there, life and light, I don't get depressing out of that. I have dreamed of joy departed. I'm going to put a pin in that one. Joy departed. I don't have joy anymore. That sounds depressing. Ah, what is not a dream by day? That line is kind of vague in the context of this question. It doesn't really give me much to go on. On things around him with a ray, I think that's even more vague in the context of this question. It doesn't really have anything to do with the tone necessarily. So we're going to go with B. So the answers here are D and B. All right, so going into this week, by the end of the week, you need to make sure that you're familiar with the concept of mood and tone, how to differentiate those two things. Tone comes from the author. It is created by word choice specifically. Mood is the feeling the reader gets from the text after reading those words. Yeah, if you guys have any questions or concerns about mood and tone through the week, let me know. And now we're going to be getting into poetry and that kind of stuff. Yeah, have a good day, guys, and I'll talk to you soon.